I'm Locke Meredith. I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines, where my guest is Livingston Parish Sheriff Jason Ard. Sheriff Ard is going to talk to us about Livingston. It's still growing like crazy, but the community helps him provide for the safety of all the families there. It is one of the key ingredients to why crime has remained low in Livingston Parish and one of the top places in the state to raise a family. So join us on the next Legal Lines with Livingston Parish Sheriff Jason Ard.
Hi, I'm Sean Fagan of Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan & Associates. Open the phone book or look online. There are plenty of lawyers to choose from. And if you ask any of them, they'll agree that the vast majority of claims settle without ever having gone to trial. And I'll tell you, any lawyer can settle a claim. It's not hard to settle a claim, but it takes hard work to get a client what he or she deserves. At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan & Associates, we have a proven record of working hard for our clients. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call.
Hello, welcome to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and I'm very pleased to have back on the show Livingston Parish Sheriff Jason Ard. Jason, it's great to see you again. It seems like it's been about a year, and I like to kind of get an annual checkup because I think Livingston Parish is one of the best parishes in the state, and you're part of the reason why, and all your law enforcement folks out there. And so kind of wanted to just get an update on things. First of all, congratulations. I understand you were elected president of the Louisiana Sheriff's Association. Yes, tell folks what that means and kind of what you guys do in that association.
Oh, well, the Louisiana Sheriff's Association is a association, of course, that's made up with all the sheriffs. You have 64 sheriffs that are members. We have a lot of retired sheriffs. And that association does a lot of work on stuff on the floor when it comes down to legislation, and work with our legislators to make sure that laws that maybe affect us day in and day out, we want to make sure we fight that to make sure they're right. It doesn't put more of a burden on us, and we want to make sure it's for the good.
So it's kind of like, I mean, I know it's a nasty word, lobbyist, but bottom line is they're going to respect y'all because y'all are actually out there on the roads and in the populations and know what the truth is. That's
right, and they're there to help our deputies. It's not just a sheriff thing, it's for sheriff deputies, and they have a lot to do with our pension. I mean, it's just a very broad view of things of what the Sheriff Association does. And it's an honor to be elected by 64 sheriffs to be able to do this job.
So tell me why. Why did they pick you and why did you accept?
So the way this works is you actually have to be nominated, and then you have to run for office. And so I'll tell you my story. My story was that in 2016, when we had the flood in Livingston Parish, it was a devastating time for us. It was the first time I can say in my career I ever felt the what I call defeated, where you couldn't help your citizens. You felt like you were. I just felt helpless.
You're paralyzed.
There's no other way to put it. Right.
Yeah. Overwhelmed too.
It was very much so. Overwhelmed. And I remember in the first 24 hours, just praying at one point, just God, what am I going to do? How am I going to do my job? And then the next thing you know, these sheriff deputies just start showing up from Webster Parish, from North Louisiana, Franklin Parish, and Iberville, just all over. These sheriff deputies, they just kept coming, and they're rescuing people. And they, Sheriff, where you need me? Where you need me? And they never left. They didn't get to sleep. They didn't do anything. So it was crazy. And then the most important thing for me wasn't just the rescues, which those were important, but whenever we started having the looting and things that can actually tear your parish apart, they never left. They stood beside me the whole time and my deputies and made sure we kept Livingston Parish what it was. And it's known as a great place to live and work and raise a family. And we were able to retain that. So that inspired me to give back because the association was the spearhead behind that. And I wanted to give back. So I actually, I put my name in a hat and said I'd love to run for office and try to give back what y'all have given to me. And with that being said, you run for Sergeant of Arms, which I did. I was elected by the sheriffs to represent them. And then each year you have to be reelected into that position until you become president, which I am currently now the president. And it's kind of ironic how it all happened. And there was actually a sheriff in between a couple of sheriffs as you move up. So this year in 2021, I would be taking the oath of office for the president. But because that sheriff actually stepped down and retired, I moved up a little quicker.
So is your 2-year term?
Yeah, well, no, it's just a 1-year term, but you just move up a little quicker. So I actually moved up from sergeant at arms to vice chair pretty quick, and so instead of doing 4 terms, I actually wound up doing 3.
Now, where do y'all meet?
The Louisiana Sheriff Association in Baton Rouge off of Nicholson Drive.
Makes it a little easier, huh?
Yeah, it does. It makes it a little easier, and it helps the association too to have a sheriff, because sometimes they have sheriffs. The sheriff before me was from Bossier, so that's a long drive for him. So it is a lot more convenient.
And so y'all kind of educate the legislators on laws or proposed laws that are going to affect what y'all do, which is protect our population. Are there any other activities that are engaged in? I mean, obviously y'all help each other.
Yeah,
which benefits the public.
Biggest thing for me is, I just want to give back, and like I was going to earlier, whenever the Hurricane Laura hit, I mean, I just wanted as president, of course, my first reaction was, I'm bad luck. I have this kind of effect. When I go out of town, usually we have a homicide or we have a hurricane that hits. That's just the way things are. But I was able to travel the state of all these impacted parishes, meet with their sheriff. We had 19 new sheriffs that came in 19.
Wow.
One office is sworn in 2020. So their first year in office, they're doing what I dealt with, which was I dealt with Hurricane Isaac a month after I took oath. And so to be able to be there and help them sheriffs and just give back to them what they gave to me, and give them information, what you can and can't do, how you can get things done, how you can accomplish things. It really was.
It's fascinating. So y'all facilitate each other in your roles based on the calamities that everybody faces.
Right. When the flood hit, I had Sheriff Pohlman that came down from St. Bernard. During St. Bernard, during Hurricane Katrina, he was St. Bernard's chief deputy. Yeah. So he came and stood beside me and was a sheriff that helped me. This is what I experienced. This is what you need to do. This you need to work on. You might want to tell FEMA this. Make sure you're telling your guys this. So to have that mentor meant a lot to me. So for me to be able to go and mentor that many sheriffs at one time, it was a lot to take on, but it was, I'll tell you what, it humbled me.
So is this the organization that you've used? Because you've had to deal with the 16 flood and hurricanes. In 16, there's never been anything like that in our lifetimes. Right. They said 1,000-year flood. But you learned all the ropes about dealing with the state and federal guidelines of what you could do and what you couldn't do, and how to process it all. And as I understand it, you're kind of helping other folks since you've now developed that skill and wisdom. Yeah,
the biggest thing for sheriffs is making sure their deputies are okay. They're citizens too, but these deputies have to continue to work. And a lot of times you don't understand it. Yeah, you have citizens flooding, but what about the deputies that flooded? And they have to go to work and they have to take care of their families. So it's a lot going on, and a lot of times these sheriffs are like, what can I do, what I can't do? Can I purchase this? Can I set up mobile home trailers? Can I set up housing units to get these deputies settled so we can actually go to work and protect our parish? And the answer is yes. So I actually got a little back and forth with FEMA, and because of my friend Congressman Graves,
he's wonderful.
Right, he is. He's wonderful. Came and stood beside me, worked hard with me day in and day out. So we were able to. He was able to actually change the law as is wrote in the federal guidelines for FEMA to allow sheriffs to make those decisions under the mass disasters that are going on, and to protect their people and provide housing. And the ironic thing about it is it took me a while to get my reimbursement back, but the week that Hurricane Laura hit,
which was Lake Charles,
in Lake Charles, as we were actually going over there to start helping these sheriffs, we got a reimbursement finally.
Thank God.
After 3 years,
$2.2 million.
$2.2 million, and it was really exciting to be able to inspire. The inspiration through me to give back to these sheriffs and say, hey, you can do this. This is the proof. And so it helped them to get things.
And it helps everybody else. All right. We'll continue this on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith with Sheriff Jason Arm. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Sean Fagan of Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan & Associates. When insurance companies have been unfair, we've never been afraid to go to trial. Fighting hard to protect your rights, we never settle a case out of convenience. We only settle when it's right for you. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call.
I'm lawyer Collins Locke Meredith. Trust is important when hiring an injury law firm. At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan Associates, thousands have trusted us and gotten the results they deserved. Visit us at LockeMeredith.com. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call, 272-5555.
Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. Again, pleased to have back on the show Livingston Parish Sheriff Jason Ard. Jason, let's dive back in. So I don't think people really understand the different hats that a sheriff has to wear. Mm-hmm. Not only are you the top law enforcement officer in your parish, but you also have to collect taxes, you deal with civil matters and criminal matters, right. Deal with the court and the lawyers and the whole scene. Kind of give folks a picture of kind of what your business almost is like. I mean, it's fascinating. The budget you said is close to $31 million.
Yeah, right at 31
300
million on an average. And that's with a half-cent sales tax collection as well as my millage. They usually about half and half. You can kind of split that 31 down the middle. And sometimes the sales tax is a little higher, and that has helped me get out of a bind a couple of times when you have a flood and property taxes, you're not having that revenue come in. So,
believe me, Sheriff Sid Goto is very jealous.
I'm sure he tells me that quite often.
he
does. And but we are made up. We have 310 deputies, and a lot of people focus on the criminal side of it, but there is a civil side, which is sales tax having to deal. Sheriff sales having to deal with people that adjudicated properties and having to seize people's property. I had actually talked to a deputy on the way up here. He was having an issue having to see somebody's four-wheeler. So it's just, we do a lot of things.
Not a fun job there. Really.
Right, we serve divorce papers and, subpoenas. We have to, obviously we collect property taxes. We are a tax collector. And so there's just a broad, it's just huge. I mean, the sheriffs, we do wear many hats. And my secret to success has always been try to put people right under you that's a little smarter than you.
Certainly help, huh?
But yeah, I have a great team. My administrators do a great job.
I saw 9 divisions, or is it more than that?
It's a lot of divisions. I have.
I guess you do have to chop that pie.
Yeah, I think I have right at 28 administration that are over from courtroom security to tax sales. You have tax office. You have. Let's see. You got the motor division, detective division, which is made up of juveniles, narcotics, and burglary, which I've just recently increased.
And you're running the detention center.
We have the detention center, which is kind of like his own little sheriff's office. We have just under 700 inmates. We as well have inmates that are housed outside the parish.
How is capacity now? I remember, 5 years ago? Maybe it was 10 years ago.
We're still dealing with the same thing. Our capacity, like I said, is right at 647 beds, and we usually average between 30 and 60 inmates that we have to house outside the parish.
And of course, East Baton Rouge Parish is way worse.
They house
so
beds
how do
out
we
of parish.
fix this, Jason? I mean.
It's that double-edged sword. I mean, you have to have more beds. The big issue we have in Livingston is just our population growth. I'm very thankful. I have these law enforcement officers that work for me, these deputies that are very aggressive. I mean, they go after these criminals that are committing.
They're
these
proactive.
Crimes. Very proactive, and they make a lot of good cases.
And your community is a very proactive. I mean, it sounds like
I couldn't ask for a better community. I don't know that I would ever. I can tell you, I never want to be a sheriff anywhere else, because having the level of trust we have with our community, and they actually help us solve these crimes, just makes things go so much smoother.
So, Sheriff, how did that relationship develop between the community and law enforcement in Livingston? Because I know many other parishes and sheriffs have indicated to me that that's a difficult thing to accomplish.
It is, and I have to give, when I came in as a sheriff's deputy under Sheriff Odom Graves and then Sheriff Willard Graves,
I remember.
That was something that they created. They were very big in community outreach. If you remember, Sheriff Graves used to have the big fun day and Kids Day festival, and they had all that stuff going on. And I think that was an opportunity for these deputies to connect with the community. And all I did when I came in was try to continue that, because I was a part of that too. But to be able to continue that and maintain that trust, the trust was there. And I just have a lot of folks that are very conservative, and they very just proactive. They just don't want crime. They don't want to hear. So, and they're not scared. We have social media. We'll send out a picture of somebody. Hey, you know who this guy is, and they don't. Hey, he was at my house last night. That's so-and-so. I mean, they just don't care. You know, look, you do the crime, you do the time, and that's the way their mentality is. So it helps me as a sheriff. It helps my investigators. And it just makes things go a lot smoother.
So you've been in law enforcement now, what, 28 years?
28 years.
Okay. Born and raised Livingston?
Born and raised in Livingston Parish. I went to school, graduated Walker High, and so been here my whole life. Very, very, I guess you could say, connected throughout the whole parish. Had family all over the place, and so I've watched our community grow. I think the last census we had 150,000 people. After having a conversation with parish president, both of us believe the new census will show we're well over 200,000.
Wow.
It's just crazy.
Well, it describes what we've talked about, and that is that it's a great place to live and raise a family. Right. The schools are always in the top 3.
We have a great
sometimes
school.
one.
Right. We have a great school system. They do a fantastic job.
And y'all have DARE programs there, right?
We have a DARE program,
so
and we
everything's
just recently started when actually I took over as sheriff in 2012. I brought the first school resource officer, and that went from 1 school resource officer in 2012, and now we're up to around 9 or 10. I think we're right at 10 school resource officers now.
And so they go in the DARE program and what, educate kids?
So we have the DARE program, which we focus on a couple of things. DARE, which is drug awareness. We also talk to them a lot about bullying, and that goes on. There's a lot of different forms of bullying, and we just we want to build their character up. We want to make sure they understand what's right and wrong. And look, a child at 5th grade, which is what we target, they're going to get a lot of pressure once they get into 6th and 7th grade, and before you know it, they're teenagers. So that's why we target that area. We've put our school resource officers in the school system, not because they're an armed deputy, because we want them to be in a position of mentoring these kids and being there to help find somebody that maybe these kids are troubled, maybe they are just kind of going off the beaten path. And we have tons of stories where these guys have stepped up, and ladies, and become mentors for these young men and women.
Well, I want to talk about one special DARE deputy, and that was Deputy Jason Hunt, I believe.
Yes.
Tell folks about that. He saved a woman's life.
Jason Hunt, he's if you know Jason, he's a great deputy. He's got a huge personality with him. And he was actually working some extra duty, which these deputies do a lot to try to make ends meet, because when they don't get any job for the pay, he's going to to work at extra duty, comes across a crash where this lady actually was trapped in the car, and he's
on fire.
On fire. The blazes start getting bigger and bigger, and he is by himself, and he calls for backup, and he actually goes and puts himself in harm's way and rescues this lady. I mean,
and she was unconscious from what I read. She was
unconscious. He had to beat the windshield out. You see the video. If you see it, you make your hair stand up. I mean,
the video's on y'all's website?
Yes, you can go on our website. You can see the video, and this deputy actually he goes above and beyond. And I've often heard the statement, sometimes ordinary people get the chance to do extraordinary things, and this is a true example of that. And this deputy just didn't care about himself. He did everything he could to get this window busted, and once he got busted, to get this lady out.
I've read that you refer to service as a police officer as a calling, and I remember him stating he was going to do his training. We'll continue this on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith with Legal Lines. My very special guest, Sheriff for Livingston Parish, Jason Ard. We'll be right back. I'm lawyer Locke Meredith. If you're battling an insurance company because of a wreck not your fault and they're not calling you back or being fair, whether you hire us at all, give us a call, 272-5555, or email Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates. You have nothing to lose.
Hi, I'm Sean Fagan of Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates. When insurance companies have been unfair, we've never been afraid to go to trial. Fighting hard to protect your rights, we never settle a case out of convenience. We only settle when it's right for you. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call.
Hi, I'm Mitchell Meredith. Injuries happen when you least expect them to, making your life more complicated. At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates, we know this, and we strive to help each of our clients during these times. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call at 272-5555.
I'm lawyer Collins Locke Meredith. Trust is important when hiring an injury law firm. At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan Associates, thousands have trusted us and gotten the results they deserved. Visit us at LockeMeredith.com. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call, 272-5555.
Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm diving back in with Livingston Parish Sheriff Jason Ard. Jason, let's talk about crime. I know I've spoken with Sheriff Sid Gotro and District Attorney Hiller Moore and Chief Baton Rouge Police Chief Paul, and everybody's indicated there's a lot of crime going on in Baton Rouge. Last year it was at a historical high in terms of homicides. I just visited with the DA probably 2 months ago. He said again, it's trending higher than it was the previous year. How are you guys dealing with crime? Is it going up? Is it going down?
We've seen a little bit of spike in crime in Livingston Parish, and I contribute to two different deals. One is the population growth. That's going to happen. Also, when you have a flood and things like that, you have a lot of contractors come in from all over, and so we've seen a lot of growth on that side. But also, I have to hand it to my deputies. They're very aggressive, proactive, and they make a lot of good cases. I actually recently just beefed up my narcotic and burglary division because that's where our crime, that's what's showing where our crime is. And I often look at the numbers to say, okay, I don't have a homicide unit because I don't have a lot of homicides, but I do have a lot of burglaries and thefts. I do have my fair share of illegal narcotics. So that's kind of where we focus, and all that is going to be related. So I have seen a spike in crime, and it can be contributed to both of those factors, but I'm not seeing what Baton Rouge is having to deal with. I don't have a lot of violent crime. Most of my homicides, what I mean by that, but most of my homicides are domestic related. I do have the occasional shooting that may be involved in a drug deal went bad. So we have some of that, but not to the magnitude that some of my neighboring parishes is having.
So are y'all having any of the same issues that apparently nationally law enforcement is having? And that is longtime officers saying, I've had enough. I'm watching, things go south, so to speak, with fellow officers being murdered or, beaten on or derided.
I have seen that for Livingston. Speaking for Livingston Parish, we haven't seen a lot of that.
Why do you think?
All
the other reasons we're talked about?
We're not in the big city. I know a lot of that actually comes out of the big cities and these bigger departments throughout the country. I think a lot of it has to do, and I'm not saying this is anything to do with anybody local here, but some of it has to do with some leadership too. Because we've seen that throughout our country, bad leadership in these roles.
But I agree with you. We don't have that scenario.
If a chief of police decides to step down because he just doesn't like his mayor, which we don't have to deal with, that guy is representing a police department, and those who look up to him is going to feed off of that. But look, we also know that these a lot of deputies and law enforcement officers throughout our country have been attacked. And maliciously attacked, and so it gets scary. I mean, it's some very, very trying times, and you're going to have some law enforcement officers that are very close to retirement that says, it's not worth it, and they're stepping down. For Livingston Parish, we're not seeing any of that. I haven't heard a lot of talk about it from other sheriffs. Now, what we are dealing with is the fact of some vacancies are a little slower to fill.
Nobody wants to become a police officer or law enforcement.
So we have been seeing that. So we're actually putting our heads together to try to come up with a better recruiting program to get out and make sure that these young men and women that have it in their blood, because I believe that they have it in them to want to serve, and to see how we can reach out to them and pull them back in to make sure we continue to protect and serve. We have to do that.
Yeah. Well, so how are your guys and your ladies and guys compensated comparatively speaking? Are they at the top of the kind of law enforcement world for parish your size, and in other words, does your Livingston Parish government support you guys to get the right folks in there?
Oh yeah, we have great working relationships with our parish government. The good thing about a sheriff,
and Leighton Ricks is still
yes,
parish
Leighton Ricks.
president.
He's a big supporter of mine, a friend. He anything that we've ever needed as far as law enforcement stuff, he's been there. But the good thing about sheriffs in Louisiana, we have our own budget. We don't have to I don't have to go see the government or parish president Leighton Ricks to get anything. My budget is I collect
independent.
I'm independent. I do my own, so I'm able to make my own decisions when it comes to that. So some of these other sheriffs outside of Louisiana, some of these other police chiefs, they're having to go through council members and get budgets. So it's very political. So we're not dealing with some of what they're dealing with as well. So I think that's why maybe we haven't seen the impact that other states have had to.
How are y'all doing on equipment? I know that you, like you mentioned earlier, you have 100 miles of rivers and byways and such, and your equipment. I think you'd gotten a helicopter last time we spoke.
Yeah, we've done well with our equipment. We keep up. There's a lot of grants that we continue to try to retain, and so we just, you know, as we grow and the demands demand different little things, we purchase them and we keep up with our equipment. We have our armored vehicle. We do have a couple of our choppers that really help us during the waterways, and you and I had spoke earlier about this. We have more navigable waterways in Livingston Parish than any other parish in the state of Louisiana.
That's unbelievable, because we're a pretty wet state.
And in the summertime, it's just a lot of traffic on that water. We have a lot of restaurants and bars that are frequent by people. We have people that come out of New Orleans through Lake Pontchartrain.
Were you still doing the Tickfall
yeah, they have
poker
Tickfall
run?
200. People are coming from all over the world to that event. And so it's a lot of stuff that goes on in Livingston Parish. And a lot of people don't realize how big we really are and the events that actually come here.
So how is, every time I've ever asked any law enforcement chief, the cooperation between the various law enforcement groups is just really good.
It is.
I assume the same relationship exists with the state police and local sheriffs and other police departments for
Absolutely.
municipalities?
I have friends in all those aspects. I have great sheriff. They're my brothers, all my sheriffs, and I can reach out and ask them for anything. We have a lot of friends and family in the state police, same way. And I mean, we are very well intertwined, if you want to call it that, and we work well together. Now, we agree to disagree quite often. You know, we're going to have that, and I use that term with my district attorney, Scott Perilou. He and I, sometimes we agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, we're going to be professional, and we spoke our piece and we walk away. And that's what you're supposed to do. And but we get along very, very well with the law enforcement agencies.
And y'all are still sharing resources, I presume?
Oh, we do, absolutely. Matter of fact, the state police called the other day. They were run out of armored vehicles, some stuff they were dealing with, and had to borrow ours. So I had 2 deputies load up and bring it over to Baton Rouge, and some location they were dealing with a barricaded subject. So whatever we can do to help them.
So I know that you mentioned earlier, you're very involved in the community, the whole sheriff's department is. And you do charities periodically. What's coming up this year that you want to encourage folks to participate in?
Well, my biggest charity is the Christmas Crusade for Kids. Is something that my wife and I had.
And describe to folks exactly what it is.
So the Christmas Crusade is an opportunity for us to give to the less than fortunate children in Livingston Parish. It's a fundraiser that's been around for many, many years, well over 30, and actually Sheriff Woodard Graves and Odom Graves kind of started this event, and it's grown. And this program has just grown to where these deputies have gotten truly involved in our citizens. And all we want to do at the end of the day is make sure that every kid in Livingston Parish, whether you're a privileged or underprivileged child, have a very Merry Christmas.
Enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you
Sheriff.
very much.
It's great to have you back. This is Locke Meredith Legal Lines. My special guest, Livingston Parish Sheriff Jason Arden. Thank you for being with us.